Have you ever found yourself in one of those seasons of waiting? You know, a time where you feel like you're doing everything right, but the change you're praying for, the one you're hoping for, just hasn't come yet? Well, if that's you, you're in the right place. We're going to walk through Psalm 27 together and see how it offers this incredible guide for finding strength, not after the storm is past, but right in the middle of it.
Let's just sit with this feeling for a second. It's a really specific kind of tension, isn't it? You're trying to walk faithfully, you're making obedient choices, but you still end up feeling, well, unmet or misunderstood, or maybe just plain stuck. Psalm 27 was written for this exact moment, for the faithful, weary heart that's in the middle of a long wait.
I want you to picture this. Imagine you're standing all alone in a wide open field. The sky above you is getting dark, the wind is starting to pick up, but the storm hasn't really hit yet. But it hasn't cleared either. You're just there, in that unresolved, tense in-between. That's the place Psalm 27 is written from. This isn't a song from the victory party. It's a song from the uncertain middle.
So the big question is, how do we stand in that field without completely falling apart? Well, it all starts in the mind. Courageous waiting really begins with what we choose to believe when every part of us feels weary. The psalm shows us how to anchor our thoughts not in our circumstances that are shifting like the wind, but in a truth that never, ever changes. Now listen to the boldness of this opening line. It's incredible. The writer isn't pretending that fear doesn't exist, not at all. Instead, he's intentionally naming a truth that he knows is louder and more real than his fear. He starts by declaring who God is before he even gets to his own problems. It's a powerful first move. And you can really see that mental shift right here. On one side, you have those quiet, nagging questions that always seem to pop up when we're tired, right? Why am I still here? Does any of this obedience even matter? But look at how the psalm redirects those questions. Instead of getting stuck on the outcomes, it anchors our thoughts in God's unchanging identity. He is light when we're confused, He is salvation when we're in trouble, and He is a stronghold when we feel completely exposed. And this right here is the key takeaway. Our true security, our stability, isn't found when the problem is finally solved. It's found right now, in our relationship with the one who is our light and our salvation. And you know, that changes everything about how we wait. Okay, so if our mind is anchored in truth, what do we do with our heart? What about all that longing, that desire that can feel so overwhelming when we're in a long wait? The psalmist actually gives us a beautiful model for how to hold on to hope without having to deny our heartache. Just look at this list. Does any of it sound familiar? That feeling of being totally unseen in all your efforts? That deep emotional loneliness? Oh, and that powerful temptation to just pull back and stop trying so hard? Or maybe just being so tired of having to be the strong one. Psalm 27 doesn't dismiss these feelings, it actually validates them. It makes space for them. This play comes from the very middle of the psalm, and it's just so raw and so honest. But what's so beautiful about it is that this is not seen as a sign of weak faith. No way. This is the language of deep, honest dependence. It's taking that awful feeling of being unseen and turning it into a prayer, bringing the longing right to God instead of letting it sour into despair. All right, so our minds are anchored and our hearts are being honest. Now we turn to our will. This is where we get to redefine what it even means to wait. Because it's not this passive, helpless thing. The psalm totally reframes waiting as an active, courageous choice to stay present with God. So what does this active waiting look like? Well, first, it's a choice to seek God's presence, even when you don't feel it. Second, it's a commitment to keep praying honestly, even when you feel like you're talking to a wall. And third, and this one is so important, it's a refusal to let your heart grow hard or cynical in the process. It's all about staying turned toward God instead of withdrawing into yourself. This is just so crucial to understand. For so many of us, the biggest temptation in a long wait isn't some big act of rebellion. It's a quiet retreat. It's just disappearing, fading into the background. But Psalm 27 calls us to something so much more courageous, to stay, to remain present, to keep trusting. And this brings us to this final, beautiful idea in the psalm. The writer talks about God being a shelter, but this isn't about building thick walls around our hearts to protect ourselves. It's about finding a kind of refuge that actually allows us to remain open and soft-hearted, even when we're in the middle of trouble.
And this is the paradox, isn't it? So often, we think being strong means we have to harden ourselves. We cope by just lowering our expectations or trying to numb our desires. But the shelter of God offers a totally different way. It's the ability to be held securely while keeping a soft and open heart. It's about being able to trust God without having to deny the reality that what you're going through is really painful.
So ultimately, what makes this psalm such a safe place for a weary heart? It's because it doesn't promise a quick fix. It promises God's nearness in the waiting. And this hope is real, it's secure, because of Christ. He himself walked this path of perfect faithfulness, of unmet longing, of delayed vindication, all while trusting his Father. And because of him, our waiting isn't wasted, and our faithfulness is never, ever forgotten. And so we land here with the Psalm's famous final words. And you have to hear this not as a scolding, but as a deep, loving encouragement. After everything David has just processed, his fears, his longings, his choices, this is his conclusion. Wait, be strong, let your heart take courage. It's just a quiet, steady call to keep going, with hope.
So, as we close, I want to leave you with this question to think about. Not for tomorrow, and not for when things finally get better, but for right now. In your own unresolved middle, what would it look like just for today to let God be your refuge instead of putting your hope in an outcome or another person?